It is, by the way, I hope you have some good Patriot Brew or sparkling water or, I don't know, good cerveza, maybe a good glass of wine. Whatever your poison is, hope you'll grab it and join me in the tavern. Mm, if you're like Christiana Campbell's Tavern, where George Washington loved to go in Colonial Williamsburg, went there 80-something times. I've only been there twice, but I loved it. Can't wait to go back. But if you happen to have a tavern like that where you can actually get some really good food, I mean, like revolutionary period food, then you should go. If you live in the Northeast or you live in any of those places that have some of these historic taverns that were, in some places, literally the gathering spot for the founding fathers, the gathering spot for instance, Paul Revere's The Mechanics, basically the initial CIA of America. These intelligence gathering folks that shared with through the committees of correspondence across the country. If you have a place like that, go check it out, man. I wish that I lived in the Northeast sometimes just for that. When I get to go there and go to some of these historic places, it really is like stepping back in time and walking in the footsteps of the founding fathers. So check those out. But here in the tavern at Patriot Academy, we just find a good mug and a good cup of Patriot Brew coffee and have these revolutionary discussions, these conversations about what are the tactics, what are the strategies and tactics it takes to save a nation. So here at the end of the year, 2025 has been amazing, mostly in great ways, bad in some ways. I mean, it's the typical good, bad, and the ugly, and extremely ugly in some ways for us at Patriot Academy, for some of our friends, obviously those at Turning Point, and at some of the organizations that also came under significant attack in 2025. But overall, wow, what a year. And that's what I plan to do tonight here in the tavern, is just sort of recap some of the things that happened in 2025 and hopefully put it in the perspective. Part of the reason I titled this tonight, What a Year, and another 30-year overnight success, is that so much of what we experienced in 2025 was the result of decades of work, decades of investing. This was not just some fluke, just naturally downstream from winning an election in 2024 that 2025 would have all this success. No, in fact, I mean, this was a banner year because so many of you that are part of Patriot Academy and Wall Builders and all the different organizations that we work with, you put effort in, not just in the last couple of years, but literally for decades. And so what I want to emphasize tonight and just highlight a little bit, and then we'll go to your questions, are just a few of the victories that happened in 2025 that were 30 years in the making. A few of these things that our family has been working on, no kidding, for 30 years. 25 years ago in the legislature, 27 years ago in the legislature, even a few years before that, already out there kind of laying the groundwork for some of these things and working on some of these issues. But just it's kind of hard to get my head around this. I mean, let me just rattle off a few of these things that in just the last few weeks have come to fruition. And I would say in the last 10 to 15 weeks, we've seen significant movement, massive victories in things that we've been working on for decades. The vaccine issue, both in terms of Hep B specifically, to just parental choice in vaccines, to just the knowledge of the community of what has been done with a scientific breakthrough and an amazing thing in terms of inoculation and being able to stave off disease and stop spilling water here in the tavern. And it is water, by the way. I don't even have Patriot Brew tonight. It's just sparkling water. But the ability to stave off a disease or to stop the spread of a disease, for the most part, incredible scientific discovery and phenomenal things that happened as a result of that, and how that became so distorted and so manipulated and so just the lies that were told to line people's pockets. And I think this brings it brings to the forefront the understanding that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evils. I mean, that is the proper scriptural description of what has happened. It's not money itself. Money is just an exchange. It's just an inanimate object. But the love of money, making money the god, has led to all kinds of evils. And this was a perfect example of that. When you take an issue like the vaccine, that was a good thing, that could be used for good without a doubt, and the love of money and people being able to manipulate this thing into a vehicle for enriching themselves. Again, nothing wrong with enriching yourself, nothing wrong with becoming rich, nothing wrong with doing the marketplace well. If you bring a product to the market that benefits millions of people, you should become a multi-millionaire. I mean, that's how it works. You put in the elbow grease, you risk, you put your time and effort and hard work at risk, your money at risk, or whoever puts the money up. You do all those things and it works and it benefits people and they want it and they're willing to pay for it. You should become maybe even the first trillionaire in Elon Musk's case. Nothing wrong with that at all. But when the love of money causes you to be willing to lie, cheat, and steal, when your desire for significance causes you to be willing to cheat other people, that's not free market. That's not a capitalistic, mutually positive exchange of goods and services. See, the beauty of capitalism, the reason capitalism works and has lifted so many people out of poverty and caused us to have even the ability for me to speak to you right now live over the internet in a streaming situation, to have computers and all these things that we have, all the household conveniences that we have for cooking and cleaning and not even having to go to the outhouse anymore. All of that is the result of capitalism, where if I invent something that will bless your life, you will bless me in return with either some other good or service if we were bartering, or you will bless me with gold, silver, money, whatever it is that is worth the blessing that I'm giving to you. That's beautiful, and that works, and it caused America to become the greatest nation in the history of mankind. And it's all based on biblical ideas. Jesus articulates this very concept in several of the parables, both the parable of the talents, where somebody works whatever that talent is that God's given them or the master had given them, and they multiply it, and therefore they're blessed and given more responsibility. To the parable of the workers in the field that tells us that the government should not be involved in how much I'm willing to bless you with. If you're willing to bless me with labor in the field and whatever that is that helps my enterprise, I'm willing to bless you with dollars. And that's between us, how much I bless you. So what is your work worth to me that I'm willing to pay? That's what that whole parable is about. It's literally anti-minimum wage. It's anti-Department of Labor. It's Jesus saying the government should not be involved and other people should not be involved in my relationship with you in the negotiation that we have for how much I'm willing to pay you for your good or service. That should be entirely between us. And this jealousy that we have as individuals, if so-and-so's making more money than me, or so-and-so is working fewer hours than me and getting the same money, whatever our jealousies, Jesus is literally saying that's none of your business. You should be thrilled with the fact that you were able to negotiate whatever the arrangement is that we have. As long as I'm following through on that arrangement with you and I'm giving you what I said I would do, and you're giving me what you said you would do, everybody should be happy. Even if I'm willing to pay someone else more to do the exact same work for whatever reason, that's between me and them. Man, what a great parable. How much happier we would be as individuals if we were not always comparing, if we were not always looking at what someone else is getting. My pastor, Jimmy Pruitt, had such a good sermon on this a week ago. It actually convicted me because, hey, look, I'll admit, as a speaker and a writer, there's definitely times where I look at events and go, wait, why is so-and-so invited to speak at that and I'm not? How silly is that of me to do that? It's probably a blessing that I'm not invited to that particular event because I get to be with my family that weekend, or some other event even better I get invited to, or whatever. But it's true of all of us. We have that nature of man, right? The envy and jealousy that we have in our sinful nature. But my pastor was pointing this out, and it just hit me so hard. I was like, wow, man, I need to be thrilled with what God has given me and do the best I can with what I've got, where I am, and not constantly be comparing to everybody else. It's true for you in your workplace, with your fellow employees, with in whatever you do. If you're in ministry, same thing. So let's get rid of all those jealousies and things by not comparing. How'd I get off on that? Okay, back to the capitalism. That if you have something like a vaccine or any other scientific invention and it blesses people's lives, if it saves lives, if it does whatever, you should become wealthy as a result of that and be rewarded and compensated for that. As the market says, it's whatever its value is, whatever the market says, whatever the millions of people making those decisions, whatever they say it's worth to them, if they're willing to buy it for 50 cents or $5,000 or whatever it is, and then that should determine the value of it, and however many people you can reach with it should determine the wealth that you're able to accumulate by that, which is why I was never against pharmaceutical companies making billions of dollars on a drug or a treatment or anything like that. Man, if they're making people's lives better, if they're saving lives, if they're healing, helping to heal things, I mean, whatever it is, by all means, they should be able to make whatever the market says that is worth. Here's the problem. Government intervened and created what Milton Friedman calls friction in the market. And now, instead of actually having the end result in terms of the value of whatever was created matching what was provided, so a mutually beneficial relationship. You bless me with your dollars if I bless you with a good or service, or you bless me with your good or service and I bless you with dollars. Instead of it being like that, now government's involved in the mix, and government is distorting what the value of the item is and distorting what a person should be paid for providing whatever the service is. This is the very reason why you have maybe hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions of people working for the government, getting paid far more than what they should be getting paid for the value that they're providing. Some of them shouldn't even have the job at all, but if they have the job and they're doing a, less than admirable, job at the job, then they should be getting paid less than that. This is the whole problem with any kind of monopoly like education. Whenever you treat teachers as assembly line workers, that you're paying the exact same amount to every teacher, no matter how good of a teacher they are, that's foolish. You're going to dumb down the system. You're going to make the best teachers want to leave. You're going to make the product is going to get worse and worse. And that's exactly what happened in education. So what school choice does is it introduces competition so that now schools can compete for the best teachers. And instead of them getting paid as assembly line workers, if you're really good, if you're great at connecting with the kids, if you're great at getting the points across and causing that kid to go from point A to point B and improve, you should get paid more than the teacher that's just lousy at it. They don't have the ability to connect with the kids. They're boring when they teach or whatever. They shouldn't make as much as the teacher that's doing a better job. And so that's why school choice actually helps to kind of be a market a disruptor, if you will, where the market became monopolized. Now the disruptor comes in and causes the competition to make the product better and make people be able to make more. Same thing happened in electronics, with IBM having essentially a monopoly. And then you have all these other companies over the last 40 years that have created the competition. Look at what Michael Dell did decades ago. Look at what, of course, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and all these others, they were the disruptors that came in and everybody ended up benefited. So those people, of course, became billionaires, as they should have. Back to vaccines. The problem here is that government guaranteed to the people that lobbied the politicians the ability to make billions and trillions of dollars without the product actually providing the value to the people that were consuming the product. That makes sense. So that's why it is such a big deal that monopoly, that government created success is beginning to be broken up. And again, I was speaking against this 30 years ago. Lost my legislative seat over this. I know we've talked about this in the Tavern, so I don't want to repeat too much of that. But for 2025, this was a huge, huge victory that took 30 years to get to. And it's going to take a lot more work over the next few years. But the kinks are in the armor are happening. The first part of this sort of breaking that stronghold is happening right now, and it's huge. So these victories that are 30-year overnight successes. They feel like they're just suddenly happening this year, but it's been 30 years of people like you and me investing in these things, making it happen. The Hep B vaccine finally being, no longer required for a day-old or two-day-old baby. Parental choice in vaccination, parental choice in education, the school choice bills that have been passed all over the country, and the flood of competition that is now going to enter the market. It's going to take a few years, but you're going to see an incredible improvement in education as a result of competition, that will cause good teachers to be rewarded, that will cause students and parents to have more options for where they go and what kind of education they get. All of that. So good. 30-year fight finally paying off, and we're going to see incredible rewards as a result of that. Another big one, just the whole property tax debate has taken a massive leap forward in the last year. In 2025, I mean, this again was part of what got me beat in the legislature. It was mostly the vaccine issue, but I also had ended up with a ton of cabals coming after me, people that the law was protecting them and therefore preventing competition, because I called for the abolition of property taxes in Texas back in 1999, 1998, and 99. And that is now becoming a major issue all over the country. You have Ron DeSantis pushing for it in Florida. You now have Greg Abbott finally pushing for it in Texas. You have people all over the country that are finally having this debate about, wait, I have to rent my property from the government? Because that's what you're doing. If you have a property tax in your state, you are renting your property from the government. And if you don't believe me, try not paying your property taxes and the government will take your property. You're a serf on feudal land. I said that 30 years ago. I mean, this was a big part of my campaign in 1997. It was actually the cornerstone of my campaign. It was the number one thing that I talked about my entire time in the legislature. And I got nowhere with it. I mean, we won a few people over, but it was, man, I felt like I was hitting my head against a brick wall. I've been talking about it for 30 years. And now finally, not because of me, but just because of other people becoming as upset about it as I was, we finally see major movement on this issue. So I believe we will see some states abolish property tax in the next 5 or 6 years, and those states will have economic explosion. That will be such a boom to those states. If Texas does it first, or Florida does it first, you're going to see money flood into those states, jobs flood into those states, people flooding into those states. It's going to be phenomenal. So I don't know who's going to win the race, but finally we're starting to move towards the abolition of property tax. So the vaccine issue, the school choice issue, the property tax issue. The last one I'm going to mention is finally everyone is starting to say the same thing that we said 30 years ago and that we taught in our Constitution classes, and even the same language that we use in the Constitution classes. And I actually do think it's our Constitution classes that sowed the seeds for this. I love watching people that are parroting. They're now saying the things that we said 30 years ago and almost verbatim saying many of those things. Definitely on the property tax issue, which I think part of the reason it became mainstream is because of our Constitution classes being taken by millions of people, and we say all of those things in those classes. But the last item that I was trying to get to is the terminology of calling the swamp, the deep state, the fourth branch. I think really kind of coined that in our Constitution classes, and it is now becoming used by a lot of people. And people are finally saying we need to get rid of the fourth branch, that we should not be empowering the fourth branch. We're now even seeing in Supreme Court decisions that terminology of the deep state, meaning the bureaucracy, meaning the executive branch, where you have all these agencies that have been created, hundreds and hundreds of agencies at the federal level, but it's also at the state level. This fourth branch, these basically the government swamp that is not accountable directly to the people. So all of your bureaucrats from at the federal level, I'm talking about the educrats, I'm talking about the environmentalcrats, I'm talking about the albatross around the neck of business through the Department of Commerce and Treasury, and all of these people that are micromanaging your decisions as a business owner, as a landowner, as a parent, as a teacher, all of that getting micromanaged through this bureaucracy at the federal level. That is the fourth branch. You can't vote for any of those people. And your congressman, if you can get to them, or your U.S. senator, are going to throw their hands up and say, I'm trying, but man, it's so big, I can't do anything about it. And those people don't really answer to us. So that is a nightmare. The fourth branch has been empowered to govern us without us being able to hold them accountable. Ronald Reagan wanted to try to shrink the bureaucracy, failed at that. That was the one area he was not able to get success. He did get success in rebuilding the military, patriotism, tax cuts that led to economic expansion, but unable to shrink that bureaucracy. Donald Trump is trying to do that. It's literally what Elon Musk was brought in to do. So the fact that he, was given the boot after just a few months, after showing how bad it is, tells you how strong they are, how much control they have. But it's not just the federal level. It comes through the state level, all the way down to your neighborhood. That is literally the problem that I've been talking about for the last couple of years, is the county bureaucracy. So you have all of these employees at the county level that don't answer to us, to we the people. And they honestly don't even answer to the county commissioners. I can't tell you how many commissioners I've talked to across the state of Texas and in other states who are so frustrated with the fact that they got elected to run the county. And yet, who's running the county? The county engineer, the county enforcement officer, the county other unelected officials, because all the power goes through them. So we, the people, are held hostage by this bureaucracy at the local level, and even the people we do elect, the commissioners, just like at the federal level, the congressmen, are unable to rein in the fourth branch. So it has become a fourth branch. The Supreme Court, I believe, is chipping away. Well, not I believe. They have been chipping away at the fourth branch over the last couple of years. Some really good Supreme Court decisions that are starting to reduce that. But, man, it's got to happen at every level. So you're going to hear me talk about this a lot in 2026. But the victories for 2025 being such an amazing year are the fact that we're even having the conversation, and that there are so many other people now pushing for that reduction of the fourth branch, that pulling the power back from the fourth branch, the unelected bureaucracy at all levels, local, county, state, federal, and pushing it back into the hands of the elected officials, and hopefully, Lord willing, back into the hands of we the people, actually getting the power back ourselves. So just that debate taking place, President Trump saying the exact same things, a lot of his executive orders actually doing that, but they've got to be codified. They've got to be done through Congress to have any lasting impact on the size of government. That's a victory in and of itself. Those are big issues, folks, and there's many more we didn't even talking about. Even the Second Amendment issue, and the fact that more and more people are understanding the need to be able to, for the individual to be able to have a firearm, to be able to stop the threat of what's coming at them. The fact that people are finally saying what we've said for years about the threat of Islam, and how important it is for us to engage in that debate and not be afraid to say Islam is not compatible with Western civilization. Islam is, in fact, a threat to the Constitution and to your freedom. When you used to be canceled for that. You used to be, if you said that, you were anti-religious, you were a bigot, you were whatever. And now I'm seeing a massive amount of people say it. So these are big, big victories. The Overton window maybe is actually coming back our way. So I don't know if you remember this book that Glenn Beck wrote, probably 10 years ago, about the Overton window. But it's this idea that the Overton window, if you can get the whole debate, I'm going to try to do this backwards since you're looking at me this way. And so for me, it's my right, but I'm going to go to your left. Okay. So if the entire Overton window moves to the left, and you're able to stop within the window, the slide to the left, but they moved the whole thing to the left, it feels like you've won some victories, and you've been able to push the country back to the right a little bit. But in fact, the whole thing has been moved to the left, even if you, within that window, moved a little bit back to the right. What I'm sensing is that in the last year, the Overton window has actually moved to the right. And so we've actually been able to move the debate a little bit, not much, but a little bit our way. In order to move the Overton window our way in a big slice, actually have a massive movement to the right, there's only one way to do that: education. You have to do it through massive education of the entire public. The reason the left has been able to move the Overton window to the left over and over and over again over the last 50 years is because they've been able to control, and I don't mean by education, just education in the classroom of K through 12. It's obviously at the university level, but it's also just general education of the public through the media. So they've been able to educate the public, if you will, re-educate, if you will, in an indoctrination kind of way, through the mass means of media and the education system, all lockstep moving to the left. Well, that's where we've been the disruptors in not just in 2025. For the last 30 years, we've been trying to be the disruptors. And in 2025, we're finally starting to see some of that pay off. And I don't mean we just Patriot Academy. I mean, we've been a big part of that movement to educate the public, to disrupt the media system, to actually have all these alternative forms of media. So thank God for Jeremy Boring and Ben Shapiro starting Daily Wire and how much of a disruptor that became. Even just Matt Walsh's documentaries I mentioned earlier, What is a Woman? But these documentaries had a significant impact on the conversation and helped push the Overton window back. You think about the all of the big players out there. Obviously, Charlie Kirk and what he did with Turning Point and how that was a big part of changing the debate on campuses. So you just had these, and then of course Donald Trump and his willingness to speak these things from the stage to the world. All of that has caused, I think, the Overton window to come back our direction a little bit. And so now we have to work within that new frame that the public is willing to have conversations about and continue to educate on the basic principles of liberty the entire country. So we're doing that. You're going to see us rolling out in 2026 some big things in education in terms of curriculum for public schools, private schools, so that K through 12 area, in terms of secondary education, in terms of college degrees and college classes, and us going in and literally competing with universities across the country and providing that college education to people that don't want to be indoctrinated and don't want to go waste 4 years and $250,000. So education in that area, we're going to be rolling out a lot of cool stuff in 2026. And then, of course, for the general public, we'll continue to be pushing our Constitution classes and the Rebuilding Liberty course and all of these things to educate the general public during the 250th. So 2026, I think, is going to be an even bigger Overton window shift in the right, pun intended, direction than 2025 was. But we would be foolish to not pause here at the end of 2025 and just thank God for these huge shifts, these huge, massive victories that have happened in 2025 that we've been working on for decades and decades. Let's enjoy the victory. I've been doing that over the last week or two. It's part of why I didn't do a Tavern episode the last couple of weeks, because we unplugged a little bit and we've had a lot of great family time and it's been a chance to basically reassess. Okay, where are we? How did we do in 2025? The good, the bad, and the ugly, and then how do we really move into 2026 in a powerful way? So next Monday here in the Tavern, I'll be announcing some of those plans and kind of laying out for you what we're going to do in 2026. I've got my board coming in this weekend, and we're going to have a chance to make some big decisions about just where to spend our time and effort and money as Patriot Academy that many of you that are watching this have made even possible. So I'm really excited about 2026. I think this is going to be a massive shift in the right direction. There's some big challenges, no doubt about it. I mean, I'm not sugarcoating in any way the bad and the ugly. Islam is on the move. We have a significant split on the right, all over Israel, mostly over Israel, and it's very, very unfortunate. What we need to be talking about is what's best for America and Western civilization. And you cannot leave Israel out of that discussion. I've said it over and over and over again, but it is intellectually dishonest for us to downplay the importance of Israel as a friend and ally in the Middle East. Again, I'm not even making the biblical arguments for supporting Israel. I'm just talking about Western civilization surviving the onslaught from Islam. And for people to somehow twist what's going on right now and claim that Islam is less of a threat than Israel, or that Islam is less of a threat than the Zionists, the people that actually support Israel, I don't even see how a person gets there. I plan to have some debates on that with friends and allies out there that have taken a different position than me, and we'll dive much further into that. But man, it sure seems like we have lost perspective. There's a lot of false information going on. There's a lot of propaganda out there, and I want to try to cut through all of that. I want to try to bring some common sense to that. I encourage you to watch Flashpoint. If you can't watch it every night or it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday now. If you can't watch all 4 nights every week, of course, watch Monday and Tuesday because that's when I'm on. But watch Flashpoint stay tuned with me here every week on the Tavern as we dive into this stuff. And we're going to be bringing you, as again, I'll now announce next week some of those things, but we're going to try to bring you more of these conversations through some media opportunities so that we can get to the bottom of it, because this split on the right is dangerous. As I mentioned on Flashpoint last week, I am not opposed to having that discussion or having that fight. I think you have to know what you stand for. And as I've said for several months now, I don't believe you can just say anybody that's with us on certain issues, we ignore all the other things that they're saying, or we allow their poison to come into the movement because they're articulating some truths. We have to be discerning. We have to have those debates, and we have to be willing to say that, there's some things that we are obviously not for, and there's some people that we're not going to give a voice to because of the poison that they bring to the conversation. So we've got some tough challenges in 2026. We will not shy away from those things. We will, as always, do the good, the bad, and the ugly, and approach those things. But as we're closing out 2025, I just want to say overall, it's been phenomenal. It's been an amazing year. I think more political victories, certainly at the national level, than at any time in my lifetime. It's been remarkable. Not perfect, of course, and certainly challenges and obviously setbacks in some areas. But man, what a year! God's been good to us, and we're closing out the year strong. As my pastor said yesterday, Jimmy Pruitt at the bridge in Fredericksburg, Texas, we need to finish strong because that's going to determine how we start this year. But now let's go into this year with a hope, a true hope. In fact, let me see if I can pull up some of my notes from his sermon yesterday, because it was so good, and there were so many things that he said that I'm going to take into this year. Let me just read a couple of these to you. Number one, gratitude. Gratitude reframes the past. We need to be thanking God out loud, just literally thanking God for the things that he's given us and blessed us with over this last year. But I think his points on gratitude were so important for all of us. And I remember Lauren Daigle saying this in a concert 10 years ago that we went to, where she talked about how the gratitude centers of a part of the brain, when you're giving attention to that in your brain, it shuts off the depression part and all the things that we get down about. When we're grateful, it's almost impossible to be down, to be depressed. So the old thing about count your blessings, name them one by one. Good time to do that right here at the end of the year. Let's count our blessings, name them one by one, and that sense of gratitude will shut off any of the things that we're down about that didn't happen this year. Every day is a do-over. I loved that point from Jimmy yesterday. Every day is a do-over. We get a clean chalkboard, as he was talking about from the days when we had the chalkboard in the classroom. So let's remember that. Every day this year is a fresh start. Zig Ziglar trained me all those years with, yesterday ended last night. The first day of the rest of our life begins today. So let's just take that attitude into the year. Gratitude doesn't erase the pain, but it anchors perspective. So true. Doesn't get rid of everything from the past, but it does actually, or the pain even necessarily from the past, but it anchors us with our perspective going into the new year. You cannot move forward if you're held back by regrets. That's good, man. The past does not equal the future. He didn't say that. Tony Robbins said that, but I added it to my notes because I was thinking about that. The past does not equal the future. That was one of the most important things I learned from both Zig and Tony over the years. Let's see. Faithfulness matters most at the end. So let's be faithful. Weariness. This one, I needed this one so bad. Weariness, which I have felt. I'm just going to be honest with you. I've been tired here at the end of 2025. I've been tired of some of the fights, and I've been tired of some of the things that weren't victories. Anyway, he said, weariness is not a sign of failure. It's often evidence of faithfulness. Love that. Weariness is not a sign of failure. It's often evidence of faithfulness. Even if you're not yet getting the results, which in many ways I've felt that towards the end of the year. We haven't gotten some of the victories that I was hoping for by the end of 2025. But our being tired at the end of the year is actually evidence of being faithful throughout the year, working hard all year long. I love that. Obedience in the ordinary is how spiritual endurance is built. Being obedient in those day-to-day ordinary things, that's how spiritual endurance is built. I love that. Finishing strong is about faithfulness, not feelings. Ben Shapiro. Facts don't care about your feelings. Hope pulls us forward. Hope is joyful and confident expectation of a desired outcome. Joyful and confident expectation of a desired outcome. Hope is a discipline of trust, not denial of reality. So, in other words, we're not saying that some of these tough things aren't happening or that we don't have these challenges coming up or that we didn't have a defeat or whatever it might be. But hope is a discipline of trust. So, even despite all of that, we still have hope because we're disciplined in our trust in the Lord. That we really do trust Him, even if we've had bad things happen in 2025, which I actually think on par, 2025 has been amazing. That doesn't mean it has been for you personally. You may have had some big personal defeats in 2025. And when you do the cost benefit, you're not, man, I'm glad I'm out of 2025. Let's move forward in 2026. I'm just saying, as a nation, the cost benefit is 2025 has been on par, a very good year for us moving that Overton window. All right. Let me go to some of your questions before I have to jump over to Flashpoint. Get my chat opened up here. Okay. All right. Try to get up here to the top where you guys were commenting earlier that I missed. Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, it is going to be a good year. Oh, I'm glad to be back in the tavern too. Thanks, Nicholas. Hello from Minnesota. Hope to see some arrests made in the fraud cases across the state and the country. I agree totally, man. Minnesota. In fact, somebody shared a tweet from Charlie earlier in the year saying, keep your eye on Minnesota. True. Yes, we had a blessed Christmas. Thank you. I hope you did as well. July 4th, 2026, baby. That's right, Scarlett. It's coming up. What a year 2026 is going to be for us with the 250th. Great way to start it is becoming a host or coach. Thank you, Colleen. So true. Rick, a few weeks back, you mentioned enjoying going to museums, and I was wondering if you've ever gone to the Pacific War Museum in Fredericksburg. Yes, absolutely. By the way, if you haven't been to Fredericksburg, to the Patriot Academy campus, obviously the campus is the most important thing for you to visit, but while you're here, going to the Admiral Nimitz Museum in Fredericksburg is incredible. He was the admiral over the entire Pacific Fleet and from here, so we have his museum here. Oh, great point, Scarlett. Remember Patriot Academy and your end of year giving. Yes, please consider making your best contribution possible right here at the end of the year. Don't miss that tax write-off. Wouldn't you rather that money be invested in young people and in patriots all over the country and in the building of the Patriot Academy campus than in that fourth branch I was talking about? Take away as much as you can from the feds and give it to Patriot Academy for sure. For sure, for sure. Yeah, man, let's win the day. Let's see. Man, I'm glad to hear that. My dad never wearies or grows tired. He never slumbers. Amen. Let's see. Yes, of course. In fact, I just endorsed Ralph up in Michigan. So Pastor Ralph's going to be a good candidate again, and potentially this year could be the year, man. This is the time. Let's see. I don't know if I've heard Brandon Lake's song Gratitude. Thank you for that suggestion. I will go listen to it. Very cool. Okay. That's right. Battle belongs to the Lord and we win. Jeffrey. Okay. Is that Jeff Latham? Jeff, is that you, buddy? I can't see the picture. It's too small, but I see a cowboy hat. So I'm betting that is you. If that's you, good to see you, man. Miss you, brother. We got to get together soon. You got to come out to the campus. Let's see. Does Candace Owens' obsession with Charlie Kirk's death remind you of Gollum's obsession with the One Ring? Yes. It's almost like she's literally saying, my precious. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I don't know if that's, I've been trying to figure out what in the world, it's like, why in the world would you splinter the movement and do all the things that she's done? And the only thing I can figure is there's no wrath like a woman scorned. I don't know if it goes back to Charlie choosing Erica over her. I don't know what it makes no sense at this point. The pettiness of the stuff she's trying to pick apart is just, it's sickening. Honestly, it's disgusting. So yeah, it does remind me of Gollum. You're right. That's we should have AI make a video of that. If somebody has that done, send it to me. Charlie Kirk was so successful with with those indoctrinated college kids that I think North Korea and Cuba are great places to live. Oh, yeah. He was so successful with taking college kids that thought North Korea and Cuba were great places to live and proving them wrong. No doubt about it. He was so good at that. No doubt about it. All right, folks. Well, I don't see any other questions. I may have missed some of the questions. I see a lot of great comments. Thank y'all for those. Don't see anything that I need to respond to. So I'm going to get ready for Flashpoint. They love it when I dial in early and they can make sure all the technology's in place. So I will be calling it a night here in the Tavern. But thank you so much for joining me. Look forward to next week and throughout 2026, man. Let's have a great year. Share this with your friends and family. Let's grow the Tavern in 2026. I really want to become more consistent in this. I know I've been on the road a lot in 2025. I'm planning to not be on the road as much in 2026. We've got some events that we've agreed to, but I'm saying no to most things. If you've got something, that doesn't mean don't ask. Go ahead and ask, send it in. Kay will take a look at it and we'll consider it. I'm going to try really hard to be home on the Sabbath, almost all Sundays in 2026. I've got one in Las Vegas. I'm looking forward, if anybody on tonight's from Las Vegas, looking forward to being with you for that Constitution Conference not next weekend, but the weekend after. So the January 10th and 11th we'll be there, and we'll be at Calvary Red Rock on that Sunday morning. But other than that, I am not planning to take any Sunday engagements unless it just makes sense and we decide to do it. But we got Flashpoint coming to the campus the third weekend in January, so they will be here the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, I believe it is. If you want to be a part of that, you need to if you want a cottage for sure, they may already all be gone if you want to stay on campus, but there's plenty of hotels close by. But that is a very limited event. It's going to be, I think, 200 or 250 is what we've limited that to. But it's all 3 days for only $79. So this is way less than any of our other 3-day events. If you spend 3 days with us, that'll cost you about $150 a day. So it'd be more like, what's that, $450 to do the 3 days of training, whether you're doing handgun or legislative or whatever. And Flashpoint being here, we're gonna pack that one out. We'll be doing live Flashpoint events on Thursday night and Friday night, and then of course the Patriot Experience during the day on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So anyway, all that to say, it's going to be a great year. I'm planning to travel less and do more of this in the Tavern. And certainly, honestly, I got convicted watching, my son Reagan had been after me for a year or so now to be better at committing my Sabbath and unplugging from everything. And Charlie had a video that was going around right after he was assassinated. Of course, everybody's watching all these Charlie Kirk videos. And I watched one that was on the Sabbath and what he and Erica had been doing for their Sabbath, completely unplugging. And I got convicted. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do better on this. And then come to find out his last book, I didn't know that he was finishing up that book, and has now been released. I think it's been released. I know it's supposed to be coming out soon. Stop in the Name of God is all about keeping the Sabbath. So let's all do a better job on this. And by the way, start thinking about this. Commit to reading through the Bible in 2026. So the Founders Bible is my choice, and I read the articles in the Founders Bible, and some of our staff has helped with this, and our family. So you can watch that on Patriot U if you want to. If you don't have time to actually read the articles in the Founders Bible, and you want to listen while you're getting ready for the day or while you're driving, we've recorded almost all those, and I'm committed to completing the ones that aren't done yet in the Founders Bible. And so anyway, think about that. Get that reading guide. It's on our website, patriotacademy.com, and read through the Founders Bible with us in 2026. Okay, that's a big part of what's the most important thing you can do. It's number one, be saturated in God's word. So make sure you're reading through the Bible this year. Okay, sorry, I got carried away there. I got to jump over to Flashpoint. God bless y'all. We'll see you next week right here in the Tavern.